There's been a gun rampage through Western Sydney overnight, ending up with a shootout on a main street, one man dead and a policeman injured. Crime reporter Mark Reddy joins us now from Sydney. Mark, that was terrifying for the people there in one of the main streets of Penrith last night. Just take us through those pictures.
It certainly was, Joe. Frightening scenes coming out of Penrith Police Station in Western Sydney. This vision we're about to show you is incredibly confronting. It's taken by a woman in a dance studio across the road from where this dramatic shootout played out between Daniel King and several police officers. Several shots were fired and then Daniel King is seen falling to the ground on the road. At that moment, though, these police officers feared another gunman was on the run, so they dragged his body into Penrith Police Station and took cover, because this all unfolded about 45 minutes earlier here at this house in Marayong, which is about a 25-minute drive away. Shots were fired into the front of this house. You can probably see over my left shoulder here, there's glass which has been completely shattered there, and it just shows just how many shots were fired, and also into the door as well. Now, then this gunman, Daniel King, got into his white SUV and he drove to St Mary's Police Station. He got there about 9:15 and then fired several shots into the front of that building, and then proceeded to Penrith Police Station, where this, of course, all came to a head and resulted in his death.
Yeah. And so so you're where this all started now at Marayong. Have you spoken to any of the people there?
Yeah, I certainly have. The woman that lives here, Stacey Taylor, she's 27 weeks pregnant to the gunman, Daniel King. They had a casual relationship, and she's told me that she'd had a number of threats from him about wanting her to have an abortion, and that she had resisted. And then he continued to get messages sent from an ex of his to her mother, which are quite threatening in nature. And then, of course, eventually he turned up at this house last night, firing shots into the living room. Now, Stacey Taylor was in there with her 3 children and her mother, and they were watching a movie on the couch in the living room just to my right there. And then they were heading up to bed behind the stairwell where this window is. And as they got to the top of those stairs, that's when these shots were fired through that window. So it came very close to possibly injuring them. They then took cover in the bedroom before calling police. Now, the reason Stacey has decided to speak out to the media today is because she says that she has been in previous relationships which she considers domestic violence. And this is really what the message she wants to get out there today, is that this was an act of domestic violence, that it needs to stop. And she's urging women in this position to also reach out for help. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
Well, I was asleep with my 3 kids in bed, and I was just dozing off to sleep. I heard a massive big bang that startled me and woke me up, and I didn't think anything of it, and I thought another bang, and it was really loud, so I hopped up and looked out my window, and I seen Daniel at the bottom of my driveway holding a shotgun and shooting fires towards my house. I was petrified, more worried about my kid's safety, to know that my kid literally just walked up the stairs with my dad like 30 seconds to a minute prior. I didn't think somebody that I've known for so long could be capable of doing those kind of things, to be honest.
And so, Mark, how many shots were fired at police and how many police were injured?
Yeah, so at this stage, the number of shots is unclear. All I'm told is that several shots were fired at police, and then they fired back several shots too, and you can see that in this vision. What we know, though, is that a male police officer was grazed in the head by a pellet from this shotgun. It's quite remarkable. It's a huge gun that was seen in that vision, and he was taken to Westmead Hospital, where he's now in a stable condition. The good news is that he's expected to make a full recovery. Several of his colleagues also suffered minor injuries, but last night at about 2:30, this morning, Deputy Commissioner Jeff Loy came out and spoke to the media, and he really spoke about how brave these police officers were. The fact that this man was carrying this huge shotgun down High Street in Penrith, and that these officers were able to sort of confront him and try and get him to put that down. But sadly, of course, this ended in a death. Now, this will be subject to a critical incident investigation and also an independent review into police actions as well.
And Mark, is anything more known about this gunman who died overnight in this shootout? Have police mentioned whether he's had any previous contact with them?
So at this stage, we know that Daniel was known to police, that he had been reported to police on various occasions by Stacey, who lives here. She reported him for those threatening messages received by an ex of his ever since she got pregnant. So, of course, he had been on their radar. But in terms of any other criminal history, that remains to be seen. We do know a little bit about him. He's a bodybuilder. He runs a streetwear label on Instagram, and that he also is a father of children as well, different children to the ones that live here. So at this stage, there's not a lot known about him, but certainly no links to any criminal organisations. This really seems to be about family violence yet again, which we sadly hear so much about in Australia.
Yeah, and Mark, just finally, any suggestion from police that they're going to be holding a media conference through today?
Well, because this is a critical incident investigation, that essentially means that everything's sort of wrapped up. So Deputy Commissioner Jeff Roy spoke at 2:30 this morning, and he really said all he could say, because at this stage the focus with critical incidents is that this becomes an internal police investigation, and we also know that there will be an independent review into their actions, and we'll look at how police managed the situation, what was used, how it was all operating. But of course, this operation was so big. There were riot police, there were people coming from all across Western Sydney, officers from all different units trying to respond, and really this could have been much worse. Those police officers only got away with minor injuries, so of course they are now being called heroes by the top cops in that command.
Yeah. Okay, Mark Reddy reporting there from Marayong in Sydney's west.